So Globetronics, or Gtronic for short, is a company that we've been covering since the early days of our Firo Pro program. It is a company that used to be, you can say, like the big four OSAT players is one of them, right? Alongside MPI, Inari, and I forgot what's the last one.
MPI, Unisem.
Unisem. Yeah. So historically, it has always been a great company. And I've been a shareholder that have profited from the company before, especially from, I think, 2018 leading up to the pandemic, right? Leading up.
Yeah, just a quick 5 to 10 second ad break. So Mumu is having this exclusive reward. Make sure to use our exclusive code, which is, you can see in the slides, FIRE24. If you use this code and when you deposit 1,000 ringgit, you can actually claim a free money, which is up a 40 ringgit cash reward. And also you can get a bunch of more cash rewards like 100 ringgit, 400 ringgit if you deposited 10,000 ringgit, and 30,000 ringgit you can get us free NVIDIA shares. So there's a lot of free benefits for if you haven't signed up for Mumu, and make sure to check it out. The description will be in the links will be in the description and comments, and use our code FIRE24.
So the reason is it's been a good stock in the past is because the management is quite like thrifty, like so they don't simply spend money, and they're very unique because among their peers they actually pay a higher than average dividend compared to the rest, and just the entire tech manufacturing sector as a whole. So around last year there was a change in management.
Yeah,
right. That was a bit of a surprise, but the bigger challenge was for a lot of investors, including myself, and caveat, I'm not shareholder anymore, was they didn't quite know what the new management was going to bring.
Yeah, it's an old management practice versus the new management.
Yeah, and I believe the old management didn't fully exit, right? They still have some shares. So anyways, since all this uncertainty, you can see year to date, it's down quite a lot actually. And if you look at the old the 2023 price, I think is even lower.
Correct. And recently there was a dump in just a day where there's like a 32% drop in terms of share price. And the reason why is because there's this auditor resigning.
Yeah.
Now this is quite an interesting
throwback.
Yeah, it's a quite interesting throwback because Serba Dinamik's former auditor was KPMG as well. But I think there's a difference between the resignation for Globetronics and also for Serba. So for Serba, theirs was more of a disclaimer of opinion. So they found out some accounting that
for
they
this
didn't
one
understand.
Don't have, right?
Yeah, this one don't have. This one is just voluntary only.
So I think it's important to explain some of the different types of opinions that an accountant have. In fact, too busy to find stock ideas? Check out Fire Pro to shortcut your research time and effort by 90%. 10% off, link in the comments and description. If you are someone who's not good at reading numbers, but you still want to look at the accounting, you can actually read at the start of the auditor's opinion. They will tell you their opinion on the at the start of the auditor's report. They will tell you their opinion. And usually they'll say most of the 95% is,
true and
fair, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they will mention some keywords.
Correct. Disclaimer of opinion. So that is the orange flag for them, that correct, they don't quite understand what is the
in fact,
line.
Some investors will argue is a straight up red flag really, because one of the unique things and why typically we can trust auditors, typically, okay, I know one MDB, but typically you can trust auditors because unless they are beholden to that company, which usually they're not, they will always err on the side of caution. And there's very few companies that have the power or influence over them to really give a false opinion.
Yeah.
Because think about it, PwC, in this case, it's KPMG or any of the big four.
Yeah, they are more of an independent.
They're very independent.
Yeah,
they have a big interest to give you the accurate opinion. So the fact that they say that, the guy said something wrong, usually maybe by law or what, they won't say the full details, right? Because they're not required to present all the data on the annual report beyond what is legally required. So But then at the same time, they want to tell people, and more important, they want to cover themselves.
Yes.
So they want to tell the world, like, hey, actually, there's something going on, guys, but we can't say there's something going on. So we just say disclaimer or opinion.
Yes, exactly. So in the case for Gtronic, they did mention that their reports were not audited by KPMG for this current year, and they actually hired a new auditor, which is UHY. So far, but the market didn't really quite like when they see KPMG resigning. I think it's because of the the throwback of Serba Dinamik.
But personally, I mean, so far the science does not show that it's it's worse. It's similar to Serba Dinamik because again they didn't say, right, it was a bad opinion or anything.
Correct. So, but before that, I mean, we can see that they have consecutively of dropping in terms of earnings and revenue over the past few quarters. So you can see that in quarter 3 2023 to quarter 2 2024, things are just not looking too good for Gtronic, which makes sense why the share price actually went down 30%. But for it to tumble another 30% because of the auditor resigning, right? I think that kind of like spooked the market a lot. Like, why your results bad? And then auditor resign, must be there's something. So that's what the market is like. It's like thinking in terms of Gtronic. Now, another thing that is interesting is that if you look at their latest quarterlies, there's this line over here which is other receivables.
It's equivalent to their fixed assets.
Yes, and this one it just ballooned from just 1 million to 65.5 million. So this is a rather concerning, line, because you can see that number one, cash is reducing. So which means probably they fork out some of their cash balance to pay some of their working capital. So and there's no notes on it, so we don't know what is happening with these other receivables. I think Gtronic's management may need to address this in the analyst briefing to know, so that to calm the market down on what exactly is this.
Yeah, and I think that we also know the breakdown. For example, deposits is there. So if deposits is a big chunk, then it's not the risk is a bit lower.
Yeah.
Because it's basically cash.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't know receivables, prepayments. What was the ratio?
Yes, exactly. So this one is the big worry. And if you look at their cash flow, they also have some sort of an issue. I mean, if you can see that their peak was
relatively,
in 2018. You can see the peak of cash on operation is 150 million in 2018, and then it went now half already, shaved half to 45.5.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is that most companies would kill to have the kind of cash flow to capex ratio for 2023.
Yeah.
Right? Most companies don't have that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a 4-1 in my eyebrows, or at least 3-1. So you're looking at a free cash flow margin of not compared to revenue, but compared to operating cash flow of roughly 67%, right?
Yeah,
right?
Which is actually very impressive.
Yeah, but the thing is compared to what they used to do, right? What they used to do, even I mean, 2017 it was a bad year, but if you look at 2019, for example, the ratio is like 1-8, 1-7. So.
So back then, I think people were already thinking that this business is very good. But then as years goes by, I think they just fall apart and cannot really find a footfall on how to do it. Okay, so interestingly, there is 3 major shareholders that exited. Not fully exited, but then they just ceased to be substantial shareholder. EPF was once hold about 13.26% in this year, actually March 2024, and then they shave off 9% of their stake already. Lembaga Tabur Haji also is another one, and then we have the final one, which is General Produce Agency. All these companies, I'm not sure what happened, but I know I can understand EPF and Lembaga Tabur Haji because of the auditor spook. But for General Producer, I think this one is
more on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I think it's because they see the
uncertainty
results. The results is not so good. That's why they share. Or it could be because of APB coming in. That's why they decided to sell. Now we can see that
I think
two
it's a big one.
Yeah.
Right. So some context. Why we're highlighting this. So APB was the company that bought over the stake, but the interesting one is Mr. Oi Keng Tai. We don't know him personally. We would like to meet him actually, and the reason is because he was one of the early shareholders into Frontcan.
Yes.
And that's where the investment community started to pay attention to what you're doing, and so did we. So guess what, right? When an investor who have made God knows how much money through Frontcan suddenly buy a big stake in Geotronic, and this is last year, right?
Yeah, last year.
Our
correct.
eyes
Last few
just
years, yeah.
open. But you did some math. What's that?
Yes. So the math here is that both of these individuals are, or rather individuals and groups are losing money.
Yeah.
So for Mr. Oi, he is losing about 65 million as of if you look at current share price
August
for
to be,
Geotronic.
we don't know exactly what price they bought it at. We are just assuming.
Yeah. So I assume that for Mr. Oi, his average price is one ringgit and 40
Right,
cents. For APB, this is pretty clear cut because
Yeah,
they say
'cause
that they bought it
announced,
at
right?
they bought it
Yeah,
at 2
yeah.
ringgit. So right now it's like 55 cents. So
Yeah.
you can like kind of see.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are their huge paper loss. And I remember that Mr. Oi has some sort of like a connection that they can bring to like certain companies. So for example, like Frontcan and Geotronic, right? I think some of the customer that he did introduce, or potentially, or maybe suppliers that they did introduce to Geotronic. So that is basically what he is known for, from what we know. But for APB, they are a business that is totally
Quite
different from
unrelated,
tech.
yeah.
It's very unrelated. But they are very optimistic. They are very.
It better be. They have like 100, 200 million.
Yeah, I mean they bought it at 2 ringgit, so
To 200 million, right? The investment is more or less.
So it's a huge. Sorry, it's 140 million.
140,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, it's a huge stake that they put in, but things so far doesn't look too bright. Okay, so finally, what is next? Well, we know that Geotronic, or the new management APB, their focus is going towards the advanced packaging. I think this is also in line with what the government wants to go up the value chain in terms of this semiconductor industry. However, to diversify into this industry, the capex that they need to spend is around 300 million. Now, if you recall, their operating cash flow is only around average 40 million, and they only have like a cash of 144 million. So it's definitely not sufficient enough to actually spend this 300 million in capex. So I'm just going to go through 144 million cash. However, we know that their capex guidance for 2025 is around 50 to 60 million. So this one is still okay because I think they are breaking down. They are not going all into this huge capex spending on advanced packaging. So they are just gradually only breaking it down. So if you calculate, right, 300 million divided by, let's say, 50 million, it's going to take them 6 years to spend this capex. But 6 years is a very long time frame because the tech cycle, right, it's very fast moving. It's like, I think right now the cycle is around 1 year only, or even less than that.
Yeah.
So for them to actually take 5 to 6 years to, catch up with this advanced packaging, I think is going to be a very far-fetched.
Basically, and the next point is that the average historical free cash flow is 40 million a year.
Yeah, and this one, assuming they pour every single operating cash flow into this.
Yeah,
advanced
so
packaging.
I think where the challenge is, the old Geotronic sounds like it's gone, because if you're spending at that amount of capex,
the old one is more conservative. They are more thrifty, as you mentioned.
So you can see the historical capex is that you have one big one. But if you exclude that, or rather if you spread that out, let's say from 18 to 2023, that is how many years? 6 years. So you're looking at additional 18 million. So the historical capex, you can say, is around 30 to 35, maybe 40, right? Give it. But now it's going to increase
to
by quite a bit. 50 to 60
50
million.
to 60 million. But I think in 2018, probably because they saw like a huge opportunity in terms of their customer. So
yeah, but what I'm trying to do is it depends on how you look at it. Is if you exclude it, then yes, the standard capex is a lot lower. But if you want to include it, and let's say you spread it out over the past 6 years, you're looking at 30, 35. So that's like the more conservative estimate, right?
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, you can say, right, basically the management in a normal year only wants to spend maybe 20 million in capex, and now we are almost tripling the capex.
So the only thing that they can actually raise money are obviously not through their operation alone. Probably in the future we may see some debt or equity financing. If they really want to chase over this advanced packaging trend, which is what the government also want most of our tech companies to actually venture into. So yeah, those are the few key highlights you need to know about Gtronic before you think that this company is undervalued or overvalued.
Too busy to find stock ideas? Check out Fire Pro to shortcut your research time and effort by 90%. 10% off link in the comments and description.
So yeah, these are the small, quick.
One other thing
numbers
I just want to add is it's a very unique company because the old owners, even though, I mean, part of the reason they paid a lot of dividend was because they were actually minority shareholders, or rather they were substantial, but they were, I think, 20% which is not a lot.
Yeah.
In a Malaysian context, right? That is closer to like a more US style kind of company. So that is probably why they paid more dividends. But it also means that they have, you can say, less control over the company. So the new management gonna have to balance, right? Because you have some people who do want them to pay dividends, and then you got the other one that
they
wants
want
to do
growth.
this.
Yeah, they want growth.
So there's going to be maybe that's explaining the battle.
Yes, exactly. So which comes into our takeaway, which is this APB management, and we don't know whether behind the scenes whether they have like a internal tussle between the old versus the new. But from the last analyst briefing that we got from our research team so far, I think the old management like got let go. And just let the new management. But clearly, when you look at share in terms of share price, right, it doesn't sound like it's all positive lah. Probably there is some sort of like issue pop up internally that we don't know. But we hope to get more information out from Gtronic once they have like a maybe analyst briefing or AGM. So hopefully we can get more information over there. So that's about it for today's video. Before you guys go, this is FirePro's August 2024 performance. We have been down quite a bit from the peak.
Some discounts, 12% down.
Yeah.
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yes, exactly. So right now it's about 40.53%. Catalyst, if you want to know more on the short-term catalyst that we do trading on, which is 13.82%. But spoiler, we are focusing less on catalyst right now because the market is not too bright right now. For boring, right now it's about 4.63%, but I think the last figure that I saw right now is around 7%.
Yeah, and the key thing is that we started in April
2024. Yeah, so I think it's like 5 months only.
So if you're interested in write-ups that can help speed up your journey to find interesting investments, Fire Pro is the program for you. And we also have these portfolios to help you, give you a reference, give you a guide. And of course, a lot of the juicy information that we talked about just now, when we speak to industry insiders, or when we get a analyst briefing and all that, our Fire Pro members get first-hand information. Usually within less than 2 hours of the briefing, they'll get all the information. So you do not need to have special access, right? Because we have it, and so we give it to you. And if you want to taste a free sample, we have a free sample link in the comments or description. So guys, I think that will be it. Let me know if you are a Gtronic shareholder, whether you plan to add more or sell, and if you are not, whether you plan to buy or sell, depending on your assessment. Let me know in the comments. All right, guys, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.